We are going to have legal expert Lou Shapiro with us, and if we have him now, we can go to him and ask him what is about to happen. First off, Lou, thanks for joining us this morning.
You got it. Glad to be here with you.
So is it a surprise? First off, it was this medically cleared part. They had to wait. They were going to have this arraignment yesterday, but then now they were going to have it today, and then now we're waiving it to January 7th. What do you read into all of the doings so far?
Well, first of all, we have the medical clearance part that took some time because presumably the defendant was not in a good mental health state, and they had to get him to the point where they felt that he was safe for himself and for others to be brought to court in the appropriate condition, and that's what happened today. In terms of the arraignment being continued, the plea of not guilty, that is very common. The attorneys were probably just given the formal charges sheet, and they have to decide how they're going to handle this in terms of bail and so forth down the line. So the continued arraignment is nothing to be worried about or concerned about. This is a par for the course.
Well, and when you talk about no bail here, so that means he's not coming out of jail until possibly January 7th if he somehow is given bail. Is that going to be almost what attorneys are doing at the first part of this? First, they're going to get their plea in, but they're going to try to find a way to get bail?
Yeah, they're going to make their best pitch to put together some sort of maybe a mitigation packet or bail packet to show why he should be released on some obviously exorbitant amount of funds and collateral while the case is pending. They're probably going to be presenting some sort of a residential treatment program or plan where he would be staying instead of being incarcerated. But to be honest about it, given the nature of the charges and the special circumstances enhancement, which could bring on the death penalty down the line, it is very unlikely that a judge will be releasing him on any sort of bail conditions.
Lou, stick around just a second. Alan Jackson has just stepped to the microphone. Let's listen in. Okay, so you heard Alan Jackson there, had a couple of mic issues, but he kept referring to very complex issues. Lou Shapiro, our legal expert, joining us again. Now, understand that Nick Reiner has had a very troubled history. This is video of him in the courtroom there. Over the years, he's spoken very publicly about struggles with drug abuse. Lou, what I was going to be this complex issue that Jackson made reference to, how does his history of this troubled past, rehab, stints, drug abuse admitted, how does that factor into what might happen as this trial moves forward? Could he be released into some sort of care facility? Is there the possibility of not guilty, reason of insanity? I mean, what does that mean when we hear Alan Jackson start off by saying this is a very complex issue?
Well, Alan Jackson is doing his job in terms of trying to humanize his client in the public court or the court of public opinion. There's two major issues on the table that this is going to factor into. The initial one is going to be trying to persuade the district attorney's office to not put the death penalty on the table. And in terms of, how we have somebody who has a history of mental health issues and drug issues and so forth, that is definitely something that's sympathetic and mitigating. And the second prong down the line will be, could this support a plea of not guilty by reason of insanity, which requires someone to prove that the defendant did not know the difference between right and wrong. Now, if Reiner was under some sort of hallucinations or psychotic episode or combination of drugs thereof, that could potentially lead to that sort of defense. Because think about it, what type of child would want to kill their parents? Clearly, that brings the question of, did this person know the difference between right and wrong during the commission of the crime?
Once the case was presented to DA Nathan Hochman, the announcement came out yesterday. Were you a bit surprised at the special circumstances allegation? Because there are reports, of course, unnamed reports from people who were not authorized to speak on behalf of the family, that there'd been arguments and yelling and screaming and that sort of thing. So I was just a bit surprised the special circumstances allegation making him potentially eligible for the death penalty. What about you? Was that a surprise to you, or was it simply because there were two deaths involved here?
Right. So the key word on that is eligible. And I think Hochman, he ran on the platform that he was going to be tough on crime. that there's sort of a new sheriff in town. And when you have a situation of the deaths of two very well-known people, innocent people, elderly people, uh, he has to follow through on that. Now, that doesn't mean that there is going to be the death penalty imposed here in the end. But at the same time, he wants to show the public that this will be taken very seriously. And now the Reiner is eligible for it. Doesn't mean it's going to happen.
And so our next step is arraignment, and at that point there will be a plea, but January 7th really isn't that far away when we talk about a continuance. Do you foresee a speedy trial here, or is this something that could stretch off into the future?
This is definitely going to stretch out into the future. As Alan Jackson said in the press conference a moment ago, this case needs to be handled very carefully, cautiously, and patiently. And a lot of it is going to be focusing on the timeline, when things happened, how they happened, how calculated was this, or how not calculated was this. What drugs or alcohol or mental health or state condition was Nick Reiner in when this allegedly happened? All that needs to be worked up by forensic experts, medical records, psych records, and so forth. So we're not going to be seeing a trial in this case anytime soon, if ever.
And also, I'd be curious, the complex nature, when we talk about complexities, when it was Romy Reiner reportedly who found her father's body, didn't even know her mother had passed when she ran out of the house, and she found out later from paramedics. How does the family dynamic begin to weigh in on something like this?
That's a great question. This is extremely complicated on everyone's level, because here you have siblings who at the same time have lost both their parents in an unexpected, tragic way, uh, while also their own brother is seemingly culpable for it and sitting in jail and maybe even facing the death penalty. So how do you, as a family member, who do you support? How do you support them? Obviously, they're upset at their sibling for this, for the loss of their parents for causing this. But at the same time, is it something where they want to lose another family member in the court process as well? Or do they want to come to his support and try to help him with some sort of insanity defense down the line? And family members do play a role in this. The district attorney's office will give an ear to the family to see what they want out of the situation. So what they want will factor into Nick Reiner's result in the end of this.
Lou Shapiro, our legal expert for this case, thank you so much for joining us.